Hey folks, welcome back. Well, we got this Dodge Journey in here, 2013. It's losing power, by that mean battery power. If they don't drive this thing every day, most of the time the following day after that, if it hasn't been driven the day before, usually the battery's too low to get it started. And I've already been messing with this thing, and I just want to bring you along with what I'm finding so far and how I've got to where I'm at. With Dodge's lovely engineering that they tend to have a lot, sarcasm, battery's located clear down in here. You just have to remove that fender well panel or whatever. What I did up here, since the wiring comes, your negative comes right here and your positive comes right here. Right now we've got a battery charger on this thing because we're drawing half an amp. So that's 524 milliamps there. So we're almost, like I said, that's half an amp. We were at 0.7, and underneath the dash, I'll try to show that to you by doing voltage drop tests, which I'll show you here in a second. I can't show it underneath here, but there's a fuse panel in here. But fuse number 131 or whatever like that, we've got about 0.2 milliamps, whatever, of a draw. And I removed the fuse, which comes out, the fuse, let's see, 131 is this fuse right. Can't see with the shadow of my light, but it says HFN. And what that is, I can hear things turning on and on in there. I have to figure that out, but that's what we're here to do. But that fuse is the HFM. I think that's a hands-free module, and I confirmed it in the wiring diagram, so that made it drop a little bit. But the main draw, which we've dropped a little bit now, and I'll show you how I found that. So I got this one set up as a voltmeter now, and you're going to check voltage drop across fuses. And so like right now, if we take and we go across, so if you go and we're on the same fuse and we're just checking it right across the fuse, you can see that there's no voltage drop there, so most likely there's nothing current or anything like that going to that fuse. But if you come over here to this fuse and we do the same thing, I'll pause while I get it set up. Actually, I'm going to have to wait to show you that, because whatever is on this particular fuse, and I believe it's the ABS module, that I haven't confirmed yet, but that's this fuse, which is fuse F173, and it says ABS valves. This would be an acceptable draw for a vehicle, so we basically got it pretty close. Now if I were to go put that fuse back in to where the one I pulled out of there, that F131, this would read about 0.2, 0.27, 0.25, somewhere around there. So about a quarter of an amp. But I'm gonna go ahead and just wait because a little bit later on this ABS module thing's gonna come back on. And we've got the car, while we're waiting on that, we've got the car, the doors are tripped to where it thinks it's, and then the doors are locked, keys aren't, I don't know where they're at, they're not in the car, they're over there on my toolbox. So it thinks that everything is closed up and everything like that. So and obviously when you do things like that, I had a Dodge pickup one time that trying to figure out what was causing the battery drain for it, and you could walk up and you could see the instrument cluster turning on and then off and then on, and then off. I don't remember what was the actual cause of that particular problem, but that's the things you want to look for, is just see if you can see anything on in the dash there, because that would give you a clue. The next thing, obviously, is going in. We're going to go in and read codes and see if we can find anything. There was a check engine light on when I moved this car in here. Still haven't got that thing to turn back on, but it will eventually. Just sitting here doing nothing. Now this setup, I didn't explain this setup. This is a battery disconnect switch that I use. And so right now I've disconnected. This is where the negative battery cable comes up to here, and then it joins in, mounts or grounds to the main frame here, and then it goes off into wherever the heck else it goes. Well, it disconnects this goes right straight down to the battery. So basically what I do is disconnect it, connect it here. You close this switch as if it's activated, and then while you're doing different things, like right now it's open, like there's no connection between the switch, because it's actually running from here to here through my meter. And then if I need to do things like turn something on in the car, or like in here in a little bit, when this thing turns back on, I'll show you the voltage drop thing. And then I will, what I'll do is I'll end up, just closing this, turning the switch on. Basically, it's a battery disconnect switch, so it's like we're turning the battery on. Then I can go in there and not have to worry about running too many amps through my meter. And obviously I don't have that thick of a cable here, so I'm not going to be cranking, starting the engine, or doing anything like that with this. But at least I can get in there and I can turn the ignition on, read the codes, figure out what's going on there. So I'm just kind of sitting here, like I said, just waiting. This should turn back on and come back up to about 0.5 again, and then I'll hopefully I can show you how that voltage drop works. Maybe in the meantime, I could explain kind of what voltage drop is and how it works. So, all right, well, as long as it took me to draw this picture and all that stuff, still hasn't turned back on yet. So we'll talk about voltage drop as an example using, let's just say you have a battery, an alternator. Let's just say you have an alternator that doesn't work. When you check your voltage drop on a wire, oh, that was this thing reminding me to turn it off, or it turns off by itself. If you don't, it doesn't matter. So anyways, obviously if you were to go from here to here with your meter, you're going to read 12 volts ish. I mean, obviously, but we're talking about 12-volt system. That's what we're going to be talking about. I know some people are like, oh, it's going to be 12.5. It's going to be, and then another guy's going to comment, oh, it's going to be 12.6. Forget about all that. 12 volts. All right, from here to here. So obviously we've got an alternator here. So we've got, and that's going to be, something like this. This is going to run straight to your battery, but it can run all different ways. It could run through a solenoid, especially like on a Ford or something, because that's motorcraft alternator. But this needs to go get to the battery positive somehow, some way. And so it's connected from here to the battery positive. This is usually just grounded to the base of this alternator, but you could get some studs here. You could have another wire going off here and, add a ground, whatever. Somebody could have done that. So if you go from, put your meter on this plus right here. Now, one of the reasons if you had a no charging symptom is a bad alternator, it's not putting out anything, or you could have a broken wire right here. And we're just using that as an example, talking about voltage drop. So if you go from here to here, you should get 12 volts. And if you take and put your meter one lead here, doesn't matter which one it is, just go ahead and just put the positive one, leave it there, put your positive meter on there, and your other positive, or your negative lead over here on the positive on the battery. what you should read is 0 volts, because you're reading from here to here. You're just reading along this line. If it's a perfect wire, there is no voltage drop. You get into a point where the wire breaks somewhere there, and you go from right here to right here, and you read 12 volts. That's because you're reading the voltage drop, because you're getting voltage that's, you know, and you want your positive. I think you'd, at that point, you'd want your positive over here on positive and your negative one on here, or else you're going to read negative 12 volts. Like right now, it's showing negative in the amps. All it would have to do is just switch those 2 leads around on there. Not a huge deal, but what you're measuring there is, now you've got a broken wire. You're losing all 12 volts, and that's what you're measuring from this point to this point. Hopefully that makes sense. Now let's say you had like a bad wire, or something that's just, it's not broken, but it's causing some resistance, or you got a bad connection here, you got a bad connection here. Well, you might be reading 7 volts from here to here, so you're dropping 7 volts across here. So you should be getting 5 volts if you were to put your meter here and on ground. Let's, you know, if you're reading 5 volts there, hopefully that makes sense. But that's what you're doing across the fuse. And if it's, you know, earlier when I was checking this particular fuse, and this thing was at 0.5, half an amp, and reading across here, I was getting about 1 millivolt voltage drop across there. And then I went ahead and pulled that fuse out, and then the amperage here just dropped down to what it's reading now. But you can see that the fuse is back in now, and we're not, you know, we've been sitting here for, now it's been about 15 minutes or so, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, and it still hasn't turned itself back on. So I'm going to have to just keep waiting and seeing. And then in the meantime, I'm going to look and see what data bus and all that kind of stuff the ABS module is on, because there could be something else that's turning it on or doing something funky. Maybe now that the fuse is out of the, I don't know if that Bluetooth module, I'm not sure if it shares anything with that. But at any rate, maybe keeping the fuse out of there, I might put that fuse back in and see if this all comes back. But anyways, I'll keep you in the loop when, obviously, when I figure something out. I think also, you know, I don't want to turn the key on yet and retrieve codes. I could have done that first, but I had other things to do, and I brought this car in and set it all up like this to, you know, get it to where I can get this, you know, diagnosed correctly and everything like that. So anyways, we'll just we'll keep on going. Okay, so this thing sat here for about an hour and a half, and nothing ever else turned on. We had 0.004 reading on the meter the whole time. And so what I went ahead and did is I plugged in that fuse, that number 131, back for the Bluetooth module, or hands-free, you know, whatever module. And this is what we got. And it's been sitting here for about 15 minutes, and that's about the most. So I'm thinking that ABS module, it just takes a while for it to shut off. So there's nothing really, I don't think there's anything going on with it. You know, obviously with this thing plugged back in, or that fuse plugged back in for that module, now it's woke back up, you know, 0.2 amps. That's obviously way too much. That's going to drain the battery. And so I'm kind of just going, I'm still going to show the voltage drop on the because it's hard to show it underneath there. It's dark and everything like that, but I just still do want to show it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect, you know, like my meter lead here, just as if, you know, it's like disconnecting the battery basically. Let the thing, you know, and then reconnect it again, that ABS module will be on. We'll have about 0.5 amps and whatnot, and then after that I'll show you the voltage drop on that particular fuse, and then eventually it drops out. I kept thinking maybe that somehow this module being on, you know, kicks it on, but it doesn't matter. Regardless, this is too much as far as you know, amp draw and all that kind of stuff. That may not draw, you know, 0.2. That may not draw it down, you know, like in a day, but it's definitely close enough that you know, that's too much of a draw that eventually after a while it's going to wear the battery down. Just the constant draw of a battery is just going to, you know, wear it out to where the battery is just not like these people told me, like, so, well, it's had 3 batteries this year or something or other or whatever, but or this year, or at least the last couple of years, they've had to put at least 3 batteries in it. And I mean, if you had to put 3 batteries in this thing, and I mean, even if it's in 3 years time, that's, you know, 1 battery a year, that's not very good. So but because that's too much for just that particular module. But I've been kind of just waiting here to see if the ABS module kicks on or anything like that. But all I know is this thing sat for an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes, and nothing kicked on without that hands-free module fuse, that fuse 131. And so I think we're going to be able to just pull that fuse out of there. They told me that they don't use that hands-free Bluetooth function anyways, so they're probably not going to fix it, but I'm pretty sure that module would have to be replaced. And I don't know if it's like a programmable module or if it's a plug-and-play module type of thing. I think based on the service data, it's somewhere underneath the up above the steering column or something. I can't remember for sure, but you know. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and show the voltage drop and all that stuff. And on that this fuse, I think it's F173 or something like that, because that's the one that I kind of thought it was going on, but it just, like I said, it takes a while to so we're going to go ahead and reconnect. Like, this is open, like the battery's disconnected. So reconnect it again. So now look, we're at 1.7. I just heard something over in there kick on, but we're at 1.6 amps. This will tone itself down to about 0.5. You got a couple of things come on and then come off. So let's go ahead and we'll turn this thing on voltage here, and let me get on that deal so I can show you what it says. Okay, so we're just on that fuse right there, right across it, and we got about 1, sometimes almost 1.1 millivolts, and we're at about 0.52. So let me grab a pair of pliers, or wait a minute, I'll just grab it. I'm going to go ahead and just pull this fuse out. You see we drop way back down. There's still something else on. Probably going to turn off after a while. But, you know, that's how you would do that particular test, by going with each and every fuse on here. These ones are a pain in the butt to do it with, because you have to pull that this plastic cover off of them. They suck. Wish they wouldn't have ever gone to these kind of fuses or whatever, but we were just happened to be able to, you know, catch this with that. So basically now, you know, this is still a little bit too much for my liking, but hopefully eventually here, you know, that ABS module's, you know, off now, obviously. we're just going to let that kind of go here for another, 10, 15, 20 minutes or something like that, and see what it gets down to. And then we'll hopefully be able to make the call now as to, what's going on with this. But I just wanted to make sure that I, showed how do you do that voltage drop. Obviously, pulling the fuse works, but you don't always get a great test at it, because obviously now I've put the fuse back in and it's no longer there. It's not coming back on now by itself. If I disconnect the battery and reconnect it again, yeah, it's going to come on for a while. Start the car, turn the key on, or do any of that kind of stuff. It's going to come on for a bit. It just takes a long time for it to shut off, and why it does that, I don't know. But that's why, the older school ways, and with cars that are probably about maybe 15, 20 years old, a lot of times you would just pull fuses. You'd put an amp meter on here just like this, or a test light or something like that, pull fuses out, and as soon as your meter registered nothing, then you'd be like, oh, well, there's the fuse or whatever like that. You got stuff going on now with all these, you got 30 some odd modules in a lot of these vehicles and stuff. Now they're going to, be talking to each other. You're going to have one that's going to be keeping the other one awake, and there's all different kinds of stuff. The voltage drop test without disturbing the fuses and any of that kind of stuff is about the best way to go. And I found that, stuff like this is good because you don't interrupt it. Basically what I did is I brought this car in, parked it here. I opened both the doors, tripped the locks, and then took the key fob, locked the doors. This was after I had already connected all of this stuff. And you see, now we're back to, everything's just shut off and we're here. That's an totally acceptable draw right there. We shouldn't have no battery drain issues. And obviously now I know that this thing can sit here without that fuse 131 in there. And I'll show it to you on the wiring schematic here in just a second. But now I know that without that fuse in there, this thing can sit for at least a couple hours, and gets down to this right here, which is totally acceptable as far as battery drain. And we can make the call on this one that basically that module is needs to be replaced, reprogrammed, or something or other. I don't know. I haven't figured out about that. And if the customer doesn't want anything, I'm pretty sure they're just going to want me to leave the fuse out of it, because it's the fuse that I pulled out just runs that module, so there's nothing else on that fuse. That's probably the way we're going to end up leaving this car. It'd be kind of nice to be able to actually fix it and show you on the video and all that kind of stuff, but it's probably just not going to happen. But hopefully you got the idea. Is I know it was bouncing all over the place and everything like that, but hopefully you got the idea about the voltage drop on each fuse and everything like that, being able to figure it out. I didn't show it one by one, but I showed you what a fuse that's not energized, which means whatever that fuse runs, that particular component is not on, you're reading 0 volts. And then the fuse that is on, we were reading about, I don't want to say 1.1 or something like that. I don't remember what the one was that I was reading when I was reading voltage drop in there, how I originally found that 131 fuse underneath the dash. How I found that, but I don't remember for sure what that reading was. But yeah, hopefully this helps you out. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make a call on this as far as that goes, and hopefully this helps you out some, and thanks for watching.